know about you, but I have had some words hurt me throughout my life. And what I realized is because I'm 52 today, and for 52 years I realized that most of the words that have hurt me the worst are the words in my own head. The words that I tell myself, right? The stories that we tell ourselves. I call them the gremlin voice. That gremlin voice is that one that says, he's never going to love you because you're too fat. You are never going to succeed in this because you failed at it before. There's no way you can make this work. It's too big. Why do you even think you can do it? And yet I've got this little bitty voice on the side that says, you are so smart. You are wise. You are full of love. You have a listening heart. But it is so little. And that other voice is so loud. The decibel level of that gremlin voice is incredible, isn't it? So what I want to talk about today is how do we lessen the strength, the decibel level of the gremlin voice and increase the level of the genius voice. This is Cousin Dawn. So Cousin Dawn and I we come from Cherokees, and there's an old Cherokee story that has there was a grandson who was really mad, and he was talking to his grandfather, a wise old Cherokee, and he was telling him all about it, and the grandfather said, you know, I have the same problem. I have two wolves that are fighting in my head all the time. One wolf is hateful and spiteful and destructive and tears down and tries to make me small. And the other wolf is loving and joyful and strong and tries to push me up. And the grandson says, which one wins? And the grandfather says, it's the one that you feed the most. So what I want to do today is to give you some tools, some tips on how you can feed the genius voice instead of the gremlin voice. I have two gremlin voices that are the loudest. The first one is, I call it the judge. Everybody has the same gremlin, I know, because the judge is the one that says you're not good enough. But then I also have this gremlin called the hyperachiever, or as I like to call her, the general manager of the universe. Because I am one of those that feels like I have to do it all, and Susan, I have to do it all and do it really well, or I'm not going to do it at all, right? So the hyperachiever is the one that says, I get love because I achieve. It's external, right? I learned this. A lot of your gremlins, they come from when you were a little kid, and you don't have either the verbal skills or the social skills to be able to protect yourself. And so these rules come up. So for me, when I was little, my dad was a salesman. He traveled a lot. And so when he came home, he was either my favorite dad or we had to go outside because we were too loud. And so I learned really quickly that if I was the best at something, if I got straight A's, or if I was the best first baseman, and being short, it's hard, right? But I'm really good at it. And or if I was the best scripture memorizer, right? Then I got his attention, and therefore I got his love, and therefore I got his pride, and I craved that. So I created this rule that I have to be the best to get my dad's love. But then, of course, you have to have that second part of the rule that says, and if you don't, then you are ignored. You have to go outside. So these rules, they're created to protect us. But the thing is, women, we are adults now, and we have the words to protect ourselves, and we have the social skills to do it. But these things live in our heads. They have become such a big part of who we are that we don't even recognize they're playing a part in the decisions that we're making today. 90% of our brains are the subconscious and unconscious brain. And when we tell it what to do, it says, okay. So let me give you some tips on, I've got on your tables, there's some notes if you want to write notes. I'm going to give you 6 ways that you can strengthen the genius voice. So the first one is gratitude. How many of you have done gratitude journals before? How successful have those been? Yeah, you liked it, right? How many of you, like me, started it and a couple of days later I totally forgot because I got busy and yeah. So 90% of the people in this world live in a negative framework. They live in that fight or flight. They feel like everything is a fight, right? The traffic is a fight. That you go into work and you have to protect yourself at work, and then you've got all these kids, and I mean, everything just seems like it just wears you down, right? What we want to do is we want to live more in that world that is energizing and strengthening, and that's part of where the gratitude comes from, because what you focus on is what you get. And if you focus on the bad traffic and the people who cut you off and the hard things that happen at work, you're going to get more of it. So this gratitude, I'm going to give you a little twist on the gratitude journal because I always forgot. So I want you to take 20 seconds right now, write down the best 3 things that have happened to you so far this day. It could be that you got out of bed and your back didn't hurt, or you had easy traffic, or you're here at Plaid. 20 seconds. That's right. Okay, 20 seconds. That didn't take very long at all. So here's what I want you to do throughout the day, because at the end of the day, you will forget what happened today, right? So as your day progresses, if something happens that bumps off one of the things that you've already written down, bump that one off and write the new thing down. So as your day progresses, by the end of the day, you'll have the 3 best things that happened to you today. And how many days does it take to form a habit? 21 days, right? It takes 66 days for it to become part of your culture, part of just who you are. So if you can think about over the next 66 days, what are the best things that are happening to you? What you're doing is you're training your brain to think about the positives, to start to see the positives. And the more you see them, the more you will see of them, and the more it will happen. The next one is, the next word is exploration. So I told you that 90% of our brain is the subconscious and the unconscious. So we think that we're going around, we're making decisions with that 10% of our brain, but that 90% of the brain are informing the decisions that you make. So all those old rules that you gave it that said, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not good at math, I'm not thin enough, whatever, that's informing it. Here's the thing. Your brain has no clue what you really are. So when you say, I am wisdom, your brain says, oh, okay, well, let me find opportunities to prove that true. If you say, I am never going to be married, your brain will look for ways to prove that to be true. So all it does is look for opportunities to say, what you tell me is true. So what do you want to tell it? Do you want to tell it I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to make it? Or do you want to tell it, I am powerful, I am strong, I am intelligent? Think about what you want to say. And I read an article the other day that said how a password changed my life. Have you read that one? It was so cool. Make your password your I am statement that's positive. So like his first password was forgive her because he was going through a divorce. And he said, as many times as you have to put the password in a day over a 30-day period, because his company made him change every 30 days, by the end of the 30 days, he had forgiven her. And then the next one was something like love her. So figure out what you want to focus on. You don't have to have a whole bunch of things. What's the one thing? What's the one thing you want to focus on in the next 30 days? The next one is nourishing. So you know this, right? 25% of the energy that our body produces goes to protecting the brain. 25%. So what are you putting into your body? Is it something that's going to help feed it? Are you giving your body a break? So today I had put in my calendar in January that I was taking today off. And then a week later, Ratna said, hey, you want to speak in July? And I was like, yes. And it was July 9th, and I was like, I'm taking July 10th off. But I've already got July 10th, I've already got a movie picked out, and I've got some other things that I'm going to do. You have got to take a break. You know, with your computers, sometimes you just have to shut it off for the RAM to reset so that it can work again. You have to do the same thing. Sleep is not the same as rest and renewal. So how do you nourish yourself? How do you give yourself those moments of, whew, okay, I just don't have to think right now. The next one is imagining. So imagining is really powerful. How many of you have been athletes and you've done the visioning? Okay, good. Athletes use it a lot, especially the higher level athletes. Zig Ziglar told a story about a Vietnam POW. And one of the ways that he was trying to keep sane, because he was there about 5 years, every day he would go out, in his mind, he would go out to the golf course that was right next to his house. And he got to the point where he could even imagine the blades of grass moving in the wind. And he practiced every single day, every single hole, all 18 holes on that golf course. When he got back home and he got a little healthy where he could actually work out, the first time he went out and played golf, he cut 20 strokes off of his game. After 5 years of being in a camp. Your mind is so powerful. There's also a story, you know, if you've got like a 12-inch plank laying on the ground, how many of you would walk down the plank? Yeah, it's easy to do, right? If you take that same plank and you put it between two buildings, would you walk? It's the same plank, right? But here's the thing. Our brain fills in the visuals. It fills in the visual that if I'm walking on the grass, then of course I can do that. If I'm walking on a building, I can absolutely see myself falling off. We fill in things. This is why when accidents happen and the police come and they have 7 people who are there and they're saying, okay, so what happened? How many versions of the story do they get? 10, right? Yeah. We all have different versions of something because we see things differently. So what are you going to imagine? What does your ideal life look like in 5, 10, 15 years? What does it really look like? Who's there with you? What are you doing? How much money are you making? What are the things that are around you? Actually visualize it. I've got one of my clients who she wants to open a what's it called? A tutoring place. And she already has in her mind what each room is a different color, and it's based on the subject that the kids are going to do. And she's got the different types of chairs and bean bags and what kind of technology. I mean, she's got it so visualized in her mind that when the obstacles come, not if they come, when the obstacles come, she can remember this is what it's going to look like when I do it. So how much more likely is she to break through the obstacle? It's the same with us. We get so caught up in our day-to-day to-dos that we forget about the vision and we just let things derail us. Right? The last one is, or not the last one, the next to the last one is uniqueness. What is it that makes you unique? One of the things that I think is really difficult about the American society is that as kids, we all try to be the same, right? Because we want that collectiveness. And then as teenagers, we want to be different, but we still want to be the same. And we tend to lose that whole sense of, I am unique. Whereas little bitty kids, 2 and 3-year-olds, you say, you are so smart. I know. Right? I know, I'm pretty, yes. We tend to lose what's unique about us because we're so caught up in things. I have a friend who is, she's been married for 35 years. There was a 3-year divorce period in the middle of that. She Her husband is addicted to porn. And everything that she has had to go through to figure out how to live with a man who loves that, sometimes more than her, how to reconcile the relationship, how to make sure that she is strong and safe, and pull him back from that. That is a huge thing. It's huge. And so what she's chosen to do is she and her husband now, together, they coach couples who are going through the same thing. What makes them unique is that they have been through this and they're willing to stand in their shame and share it with the world so that somebody else can go through it faster and heal faster and better than they did. What makes you unique? What makes me unique is that I'm able to listen to problems that people bring to me, and I can cut through all that noise that we pile on top of it. I listen with an open heart, and I'm able to be the catalyst to give you the courage to change. That's what I'm unique about. What are you unique about? Think about that. The last one is servicing, being of service to others. Have you heard of the story of Ron Hall or Ron and Denver Hall, the same kind of different as me? They're in this area. So Ron's wife wanted to give back to society because they were doing really well, and she chose the homeless. And so they went, and Ron stayed behind the safe table of serving the soup and the food, and she went out amongst the men and women and got to know them. And there was this one guy that she kept being attracted to, very mean-looking man, very big, and he was very abrupt with her the whole time. But she finally broke him down with her kindness, and he said that he stood or sat out on one of the streets on Fort Worth for years. Hundreds of people would go by him every single day, and 99.9% of them never even saw him. He was just part of the landscape, right? So he and Ron became friends. The wife died, and they've written a couple of books together, and I think Denver is gone now too. But what happened is that she saw Denver, and he changed, and she changed, and Ron changed. And because of the books that they've written, the way we see homelessness in Fort Worth has changed. Because somebody saw somebody. Okay, I want you to call out right now, what's the color of the eyes of the person next to you? Don't look at them yet. No clue, right? So look at them real quick and see. We talk to people all the time. We talk to people all the time. Do you see them? That's one of the things that they say. Shh, come back to me, come back. If you can see their eyes, Janae, if you can see their eyes, then you know that you have seen them. You know this probably with autism, right? They have a hard time seeing. We have just as hard a time seeing around us. What is it that somebody around you needs that you can give easily? A ride to a meeting, an encouraging hug, a happy birthday song. It doesn't have to be a big thing, right? But you have to see, which means you have to get out of your own head. So if you are in the process of thinking about gratitude and about exploring, nourishing, imagining, understanding your uniqueness and being of service to others, that strengthens the genius voice that's inside of you. When you come across an obstacle, I don't want you to think of it as something that is blocking your way. Think of it as a stepping stone into your greatness. So the next time you hear your gremlin voice say, "You're not good enough, you can't do this," think, cool, what greatness am I about to step into? Thank you.